According to Oprah Winfrey, everybody has a story, and there is something to be learned from every experience. And with that, I welcome you to the first edition of my educational story, a podcast series brought to you by Hybrid Academy TV, where we get to discuss inspiring educational stories of JAMBites, graduates, and undergraduates. I'm your host, Zainab Olanrewaju. Today, I have an exceptional guest with me who is going to take you through our academic journey. I honestly cannot wait for her to share her story. But before we introduce her, let's go on a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. And if you're just joining us, this is my educational story, a podcast series where we discuss inspiring educational stories. Like I said, we have a guest in the house, and she is Joy Eguaoje, a 500 level student of law, University of Ibadan. Thank you for joining us, Joy.
Hi, Zainab. It's good to be here.
You know, I've heard a lot about you, and it feels good to see you physically.
I'm honored. Thank you.
So can you tell us more about yourself?
Yes, so as you earlier introduced, my name is Joy Eguaoje. I am from Edo State, like the name implies. Okay. I am a 500 level student of Faculty of Law at the University of Ibadan. I would say that I am a tad bit ambitious. I like going for what I want, and I like getting it. And I think that one of the things I value is, being who you are. And my free time, I like to play guitar, I like to sing, and probably read. Yeah.
Okay, so what inspired you to study law?
So there was no inspiration per se. There was no one thing. So I can remember growing up. When I was 2 years old, I still have memories of that time. My mom would always call me Margaret Thatcher. And it just sort of stuck because I was really, really argumentative and I hate cheating, right? So I think more or less environmental and nurture influences I just eased myself into wanting to practice law. And so I will fondly tell people that it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, oh yeah, I wanted to try this. That always been law for me. Like I didn't know what I would study aside from law. So I think my inspiration came from my environmental influences, particularly my parents, and just my personality. Yeah.
So can you take us through your preparation journey? I mean, your WAEC, JAMB, post-JAMB.
Oh yeah, that. So it was funny because I've always been a qualitative person, and by that I mean I've always I've liked speaking. I'm a public speaker. I also like writing, reading, researching. But when it comes to maths and quantitative reasoning, yeah, that's like my weak spots, right? And so growing up, I didn't have the privilege to really attend a very fantastic school. I went to a government-owned school, and it was bad because they didn't help me too. Our maths teacher was practically non-existent, and I just had to figure things by myself. And when I wrote my WAEC, I had a pass in maths. And I mentioned earlier that I'm sort of like an ambitious person, and I didn't want that. I knew I was going to study law. It wasn't required per se for my school, but I didn't want to have a pass. And so I decided to take WAEC again. And luckily for me, I didn't take JAMB that year, so I might as well just take WAEC and JAMB the next year. And that was when I came to Hybrid, and it sort of changed my life. I think I can point a pivotal point in my life that sort of redefined my career is coming to Hybrid. I found out that I did not know anything. Like I was just this local champion that did not know shit, anything. Apologies. So yeah, I had people that took me through the stages again, and that was when I started preparing to write JAMB. And for my preparation, it was bad because I knew I had to write JAMB and I had to do ACEs and I had to also write WAEC. And the point was that I wanted to take myself through all the stages. So for me, it was a bit somehow. Everybody has their different models of learning and assimilating. But I can remember for me, what I would do is night reading, because I'm a sort of a nocturnal person. So I would go through the night, say, begin after I read, I go back home, and then I begin my reading from like 9 after dinner, and I take it like that till 5 a.m. the next day, and I sleep for like 3-4 hours and come back to I read. I know I was usually very late. Mr. Tony will always be on my neck that, Joy, why are you coming by this time? But yeah, that was how it was. And at that point, I wasn't happy because I had people from my church, I had people from my friends that we wrote the exams together, and they were making me feel like I'd failed. And I can remember randomly bursting out in tears, and my sister would always hug me to herself and console me while preparing, because I felt like a failure at that point. I felt like nothing was working out for me. But then, yeah, I think it all worked out in the end, because that pushed me to want to do better, and I was ready to give it my all, and I think I did.
Well done.
Thank you.
So what when you gained admission, what like misconceptions did you hear about law? Let's say something like you cannot like have a first class, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Like, tell us more about it.
Oh yeah, I was put under pressure, and I was missing my mark the mark I wanted. I was missing it by a couple of like 2-3 marks, and I saw my friends do better, and so I felt bad because I knew I could have done better.
And that is the major mistake we all make. I mean, when I gained admission too, people were like, it's so hard to have first class in mass comm. I know that one, no problem. And then talking about courses, they were like, so doctor, so course, so you cannot have it, you cannot have it, you cannot have that. And at a point, it was actually true. Then I realized that this lecturer that you're talking about, that you cannot have it, you cannot have it. Others had A, they had B. Do you understand? Exactly. So it was later, and I said, no, it depends on your mindset at the end of the day. Because when you say, people are saying you cannot have A in doctor, so cause then I want to have A, I will have it. And then it's just like, it's painful when you get that kind of thing when you're in 100 level. If you're not careful, that is what you have till the end.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Because any grade you have, it goes a long way to affect you, especially in your first year.
So when you now change your mindset that I want to have so grade in this person's course, regardless of what others say, you would definitely have it.
And then if it happens that by some chance you don't, you know that you have given it your best.
Exactly.
So you don't regret anything. True.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
So back to what you said something like you knew you were going to study law when you were 2 to 3 years old. As for me, when I was that age, I was so confused. In fact, did I even know about school? All those kind of things. I was like, at first I used to say I'll just look at those talking on TV. I'll be like, I want to be like this person. And then somehow I met myself in science class, and I was like, okay, I want to be a pharmacist. But at the end I changed it. I want to be a doctor. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
so what made you like not change your mind?
Oh, about the law thing.
Yes.
Okay. So you're right. I think it happens to the very best of us, how that you can change professions or what you want to do like several times even before you go to the university. But for me, I think a large part of it is tied to my personality.
Okay.
I think that's what helped me stay constant. So I mean, Mr. Tony would always say I'm very argumentative, and I would usually not give up without a fight. I'm not saying that everybody that is studying law is like that, but I think growing up, I sort of found myself in settings where I had to, take a stand, and I was very opinionated about it. And so it helped me know that, okay, this is the profession I would like to go into. I want to see people do take a stance for themselves, or help people take a stance. And it sort of helped me go. So when I finished my junior WAEC, I had a very good result. Okay. And there's this thing that government used to do. They would organize like more like a, what do they call it now? Like an exam, a very short exam that would try to, sort of gauge what department you'd fit in.
Okay, yes, that's true.
Yeah, so I didn't do that because I was in the summer holiday. And when I came back, I can remember walking into my vice principal's office for senior school, and she was asking me that, what department do you want to be? I told her that I want to be in art class. And there's this general misconception about our students. They are lazy.
Exactly.
They are unserious and stuff like that. And so I told her I wanted to be in art class with my dad. And she said, no, I think you do well in science class. In fact, I'm going to put you in science class. I think these results are not what's being in art class. And that was the first time I knew that my convictions wavered, because I'm like, what if I'm meant to be in science class? Because I knew the misconception. I mean, science were just like 20, arts were like 150 something.
People always run to art class.
Exactly, because they feel like it's easy.
Yes.
So I felt like, okay, what if this is not what I'm supposed to be doing? But then I still had this silent, nagging voice in me that was telling me that, no, Joy, you have lived all your life for this. And I just, with fear in my heart and my voice quaking, I just had to tell her that I think I would be a great fit for art.
And I'm glad you didn't like change your mind.
Yes, I am too.
We have parents that, for example, I was like passing by and I had one one dad, like, he saw our child's result, right? And was like, junior WAEC, and he was like, science class. I was not like, did you ask that girl, okay, which class you want to go to? Is it science? Is it art? Is it commercial? But I think people, like, students are scared to like say their mind, because they feel like they would mock them at the end and say, art class, so more this and that, you don't know anything. So
I think one of the things that really helped me was my dad. He grew up having that thing too. His parents wanted him to study medicine, and it was really bad, and he couldn't really do the things I wanted to. And so one of the things he decided was I was going to let his children take whatever course they wanted or career. So I think that helped me.
God bless your dad. So at that point, when you said you wanted to study law, were you fascinated by the robe and the wig, or what's that thing that you were to court? Or like, were you not scared of the fact that, when it comes to going for court cases, there are some cases that are kind of complicated.
Yeah, true.
Especially when you have to defend a rich person against a poor person, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, were you not at the point scared of maybe threats, anything?
Oh yeah, true. I'm glad you asked this question, because my dad would always tell me, even till now, he say, like, Joy, he doesn't like how I'm very opinionated, and you always tell me that, see, these lawyers, they carry charm to court too. Don't go and insult somebody else.
The truth is, we don't want honest people in Nigeria. That's the problem.
Yes, and it is sort of, I was fascinated. In fact, at a point, I think the only thing that really wavered in terms of my profession is I wanted to be the first female CJ, that's the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Okay.
And I said wanted. I have no interest in that now, because I think it's all about politics, and I'm definitely not interested in politics. But yeah, I think the issue was I was fascinated by the robe and the wig and everything, but at the same time, I still wanted to take every day bit by bit, because I told you I wanted to become a lawyer, but I was going to a government school, and the highest standard you could be or you could get that time is for you to finish the school successfully and make your WAEC.
Yes,
that was the highest form of achievement, and so the future was not looking very bright. But I didn't want to consider WAEC. I just wanted to take every term one after the other, and I think that out of about 140 students in my own art class, I think I'm still one of the top 5 students that ended up going to the university. So there wasn't really a standard. I just wanted to, and I think that's very important for people out there. I think it's important to sort of have your goals, but do not pressure yourself. Just take every day one step at a time. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I was fascinated by law. Okay, no, like the real question now is, were you not at a point like scared of the threats that? Oh yeah. I wasn't. Are you sure? I wasn't. I just wanted to, to see people not being cheated. But I think what I'm the area of law I'm interested in now is not the public litigation part. And by litigation, I mean you going to court and defending. But I think it also, protects people, and that's what I want.
So you've heard from the horse's mouth, and we are going on a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. And if you're just joining us, this is My Educational Story, a podcast series where we discuss inspiring educational stories. So Joy, talking about your preparation journey for WAEC, JAMB, and post-JAMB, I'd like to emphasize more on your JAMB journey, because we have viewers at home that are eager to know how you did it. Like, how did you gain admission to study law in a prestigious university?
Okay. So it wasn't easy. I would say that now, but not many people can have the luxury I had to know what they wanted to do before then.
Yeah.
But I think that having a career is always something worthwhile. So even if you don't have everything planned out, or if it is not what you want to do, probably it's influenced by your parents or by your friends or something. I think it's important to have your goals set out. So what do you want to score? And that's not even depending on your cutoff, because things can happen. So what do you want to, and also see it as doable, because the first step is to see that you can do it and put in the effort. I mentioned earlier that I will always take time to study for 7, 6, 8 hours, even after coming to lesson and doing a whole lot of studying. And I forgot to mention, while I was studying, I had a very, very wonderful friend. His name is Bisola, and he would take me after lesson, finish by 1, 2, and from 1 to like 5 p.m. would solve different questions and have different tutorials on mathematics.
Maths can be hard.
It can. And then I would now go back and do my own personal reading. And so that really helped me. But then I think another thing is also to have someone that you can correspond with.
Okay.
So there's a lady I had, I can't really remember her name now, but she was like, we were engaged in sort of like a healthy competition, and we always wanted to do, one person wanted to hop up the other, so it was beautiful. Okay, have you learned this? Have you done this? Can I do this? And we go back to our teachers to ask, is this correct? Is this not correct? To have quizzes, and it helped me because I think Fane, was her name Fane or Faye? I think one of
Faye Adekaleo.
I think it was Faye. I think it was Faye, but it was really wonderful. It really helped me, and having my goal, I knew what I wanted, and so I set my eyes on it. And I think also knowing yourself. So I knew I was a nocturnal person. So during the day, I would just try to conserve my energy and listen well in class, and then in the night I'll go through my notes and stuff, and it paid off. I can remember when my dad called me that, "Oh Joy, I've seen your WAEC and stuff." I was at my aunt's place, and I just burst into tears. I just started crying for like 5 to 10 minutes. And my dad was calling my mom like, "Come and check your child." I didn't understand what's happening and stuff.
Joy.
Yeah, I was, and then when I finished my post-UME, I think that year UI took a while before they released the final score.
Okay.
So they had released I knew my aggregates, but they had not released the cutoff, and I was very, very afraid and nervous. And immediately my dad saw it. I could remember him carrying me up and twirling me around, and it was just worth it, right? It was worth it, and it was a beautiful time, honestly. All the pains, all the crying, all the hurt, and everything just disappeared. And I would do it all over again if I get the chance.
So what advice do you have for students who aspire to make a difference in law?
Okay, I would say that regardless of whatever motive you have for studying law, I say you should give it your best shot. If there's anything that is known about law students, how versatile they are, and I've seen people go from law into tech, into finance, into consulting, name it. So even if it is not your zeal, or if it's not your plan to study law, I think you should just keep at it and give it your best shot. The future will all come together in the long run.
Okay, so what's your plan after school?
Okay, so I don't think it's possible to have, hard and fast plans. But if things continue to progress at this pace, then I'm looking at going to law school, working in a Band 1 law firm, and pursuing my master's in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence policy, and probably working as a security information analyst or a security information officer.
This cybersecurity you mentioned, this security is not related to law, like.
Well, that's what I said. I just mentioned the versatility of law.
Okay.
If you're in law, you can do anything because it sort of permeates every aspect or most of the aspects of career. So I've been delving into cybersecurity, policy, and regulatory norms.
Okay.
And they're intertwined, but some of them might not be exactly law. I mean, non-lawyers can do it also.
Okay. So thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. I had a wonderful time. Thank you for having me.
So we have come to the end of today's edition. Follow us on our social media channels to get more educating and entertaining educational stories. Till then, stay safe. Bye.